Hey everyone, and welcome back to another late night chat here on Nighttime Mics. I'm Sarah, and as always, I am joined by my favorite travel partner and the most enthusiastic person I know, Mike. How are you doing tonight, Mike?
I am doing fantastic, Sarah. Though, to be honest, I'm a little caffeinated. I think this is my third cup of coffee today. But hey, that's what happens when you're planning a big trip, right? The excitement just keeps you going. How about you? You looked a little stressed when I walked in earlier with all those papers spread out on the table.
Oh, don't even get me started. I am currently in the middle of what I like to call the document deep dive. I'm trying to get everything ready for my trip to South America next month, and honestly, Mike, it's a lot. I've got spreadsheets, folders, and about 50 tabs open on my laptop. It's a bit overwhelming.
I totally get that. It's funny, isn't it? When we think about travel, we think about the sunsets, the food, the cool museums, and meeting new people. We never really think about the hours spent filling out forms or checking the expiration dates on our passports. But if you don't figure out the paperwork, you don't get the sunset. It's a package deal.
I know, right? That's exactly why I wanted to talk about this today. I feel like so many people, especially when they're starting out as travelers, don't realize how much the boring stuff matters. I mean, I've been traveling for years and I still get nervous that I've forgotten something important. Do you remember your first big international trip?
Oh, absolutely. I went to London when I was 18. I remember I was so proud of my brand new passport. I kept taking it out of my bag just to look at the stamps. Well, the lack of stamps back then. I thought that as long as I had that little blue book, I could go anywhere in the world without a single problem. I was so naive.
That's adorable. I was the same way. I thought a passport was like a magic key that opened every door. But then you realize there are visas and health forms and insurance policies. The list just goes on and on. It's like a puzzle you have to solve before you're even allowed to leave the house.
It really is. And you know what the biggest mistake I see people making is? It's the expiration date thing. People think, oh, my passport expires in 3 months. I'm fine for my 2-week trip. But then they get to the airport and the airline says, nope, you can't board.
Oh, that is the worst. The 6-month rule is such a trap. For those listening who might not know, a lot of countries won't let you in unless your passport is valid for at least 6 months after the date you plan to leave. It sounds so unfair, doesn't it?
It really does. I actually had a friend, Dave. You remember Dave, right? He was supposed to go to Bali last year. He got all the way to the check-in desk and they told him his passport only had 5 months left. He had to give up his flight right then and there. He was devastated. He'd spent months saving up and it all went down the drain because of 30 days.
No way. That is heartbreaking. Did he manage to get it sorted out?
He did, but it was a nightmare. He had to rush to the passport office the next morning, pay a massive emergency fee to get it renewed in 24 hours, and then buy a completely new plane ticket. It ended up costing him double what he originally planned. That's a very expensive lesson to learn.
That's why I always tell people to check their passport at least 6 months before they even book a flight. If you look at it and see it's getting close, just renew it. It's not worth the stress. Plus, have you seen the wait times for passports lately? Sometimes it takes months just to get the new one in the mail.
Tell me about it. I actually renewed mine last year and I was checking the mailbox every single day like a kid waiting for a birthday present. I was so worried it wouldn't arrive before my trip to Mexico. But hey, it's not just the date that matters. What about the condition of the passport? Have you ever had a border officer complain about yours?
Thankfully, no. I keep mine in a very sturdy leather cover. But I did see a girl in line ahead of me once in Thailand whose passport had a tiny bit of water damage. It looked like maybe a corner had dipped into a glass of water or something. The officer was being really tough about it. He was looking at it with a magnifying glass.
Oh, I've heard about that. Some countries are incredibly strict. If there's a tear, a stain, or if the cover is peeling, they can actually say it's invalid. It feels a bit extreme, but I guess they have to be careful about fraud and stuff. I once spilled a tiny bit of coffee on the back page of mine, and I spent the whole flight to Italy scrubbing it with a wet wipe, praying nobody would notice.
I can just imagine you frantically scrubbing your passport in the tiny airplane bathroom. Did it work?
Mostly, there's a faint brown circle, but so far no one has sent me to passport jail. But seriously, if your passport looks like it's been through a washing machine, it's probably time to get a new one. Don't risk it.
Exactly. And speaking of don't risk it, let's talk about visas. This is where it gets really complicated for me. every country has its own rules and they seem to change every 5 minutes.
Oh, tell me about it. Visas are the bane of my existence. I mean, some are easy, like the visa on arrival. You just land, pay $20, get a sticker, and you're good to go. But others, man, they want to know everything. They want your bank statements, your mother's maiden name, and what you ate for breakfast in 2012.
Honestly, I remember applying for a visa for a trip a few years ago where I had to provide a full itinerary of every single place I was going to stay. I hadn't even decided yet. I just wanted to be spontaneous. But the government was like, no spontaneous allowed. Tell us the street address of every hotel.
I know, right? It totally kills the vibe of being a free spirit. But I've learned that sometimes you just have to play the game. You come up with a plan, write it down, and then if you change it later, usually it's okay as long as you have the visa. But the e-visa has been a total game changer, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. I love e-visas. Being able to just upload a photo and fill out a form online is so much better than having to go to an embassy in person. Have you ever been to an embassy for a visa? It feels so official and scary.
I have. I went to the consulate once for a work visa. It was this cold, gray building with guards and metal detectors. I felt like I was being interrogated. They asked me so many questions about why I wanted to go. I was so nervous I almost forgot my own name.
That sounds terrifying. Why do you want to visit our country? Because it's pretty? Probably not the answer they are looking for.
Exactly. But even with e-visas, you have to be careful. There are so many scam websites out there. They look like the official government site, but they're just third-party companies that charge you an extra $100 just to submit the form for you. It's so sneaky.
That's a really good point. You always have to look for the official government URL. Usually it ends in .gov or something similar. If the website looks a bit too flashy or has too many ads, it's probably a scam. I always double-check the official travel advisory website of my own country before I apply for anything.
That's smart. I also think it's important to talk about transit visas. Have you ever been caught out by one of those?
Luckily, no, but I've come close. I was looking at a flight to Australia once that had a 12-hour layover in China. I almost booked it before I realized I might need a special visa just to stay in the airport for those few hours. It's so easy to overlook that when you're just looking for the cheapest flight.
No way. That would have been a disaster. You'd be stuck in the transit lounge with nowhere to go. I've heard of people being turned away at their first airport because the airline knows they won't be allowed to transit through the second one. It's crazy how much you have to think ahead.
It really is. It's like a game of chess. You have to think 3 moves ahead all the time. And then there's the whole issue of proof of onward travel. Have you ever had to deal with that?
Oh, all the time. Especially when I'm traveling on a one-way ticket because I don't know when I'll want to come back. Some countries, especially in Southeast Asia or South America, really want to see that you have a plan to leave. They're afraid you're going to stay forever and start a secret life as a coconut seller on the beach.
Well, to be fair, that does sound like a pretty good life, Mike. I can see why they'd be worried.
Right? But it's a hassle. I've had to buy throwaway bus tickets before just to show them that I have a way out of the country. It's only $10, but it's just another piece of paper to keep track of.
I've used those websites that rent you a flight ticket for 24 hours. They're actually legal and really helpful for getting through immigration if you're a digital nomad or a long-term traveler. It gives you a legitimate flight reservation that disappears after a day. It's a bit of a gray area, but it works.
That's a great tip. I'll have to look into that for my next trip. Now, let's talk about something that isn't a document in the traditional sense, but it's just as important: insurance. Sarah, are you a buy-it-every-time person or a take-a-risk person?
Oh, I am 100% a buy-it-every-time person. I don't care if I'm just going across the border for a weekend. I've seen too many horror stories. What about you?
I'll be honest, when I was younger, I used to skip it. I thought, I'm healthy, I'm careful, what could go wrong? But then I had a reality check. A friend of mine got appendicitis while he was in Spain. Just a random medical emergency. The hospital bill was almost $15,000.
Oh my God, $15,000?
Yeah, he didn't have insurance, so his parents had to take out a loan to pay for it. After that, I realized that insurance isn't just for accidents like falling off a mountain. It's for things you can't control, like getting sick or your flight being canceled because of a strike.
Exactly. And people don't realize that a lot of travel insurance also covers your stuff. If your laptop gets stolen or the airline loses your bag, the insurance can help you get that money back.
I always keep a digital copy of my insurance policy on my phone, but I also print out the emergency contact page.
Grandma Sarah and her yellow folder strike again. But seriously, you're right. If you're in a hospital in a foreign country and you don't speak the language, the last thing you want to do is hunt through your emails for a policy number. Having it printed out is a lifesaver.
It really is. And it's not just for you, it's for the doctors too. If they see you have insurance, they can start the treatment right away without worrying about the payment. It's just peace of mind.
Definitely. Now, what about the international driving permit? I feel like this is the one document everyone forgets until they're standing at the rental car counter in Italy.
Oh, I know. It's that little gray booklet. It looks like it's from the 1950s, doesn't it? It's so old-fashioned.
It really does. But in some countries, it's legally required. Your home driver's license might be in English, but the police in, say, Japan or Greece might not be able to read it. The IDP is just an official translation. I actually got pulled over once in Thailand on a scooter.
Oh no, what happened? Did you have the permit?
I did. The officer looked at my regular license, looked confused, and then I handed him the international driving permit. He saw the translation, smiled, and sent me on my way. If I hadn't had it, I would have had to pay a pretty big fine on the spot. It only cost me about $20 to get it before I left home. Best $20 I ever spent.
That's a great example of how a small bit of preparation saves you a huge headache later. I think the theme of this whole conversation is basically preparation equals freedom. The more you do at home, the more you can relax when you're actually traveling.
I love that. Preparation equals freedom. We should put that on a t-shirt for the Nighttime Mike's merch store.
Haha, we totally should. But okay, let's talk about organization. We've mentioned my yellow folder, but how do you actually keep track of everything? Are you an app person?
I'm trying to be. I use TripIt, which is pretty cool. You just forward your confirmation emails to them, and it builds a whole timeline of your trip. It tells you when your flight is, which gate you're at, and where your hotel is. It even gives you directions. It's like having a personal assistant in your pocket.
I've heard of TripIt. I use something similar called Wanderlog. I like it because I can see everything on a map. But my biggest fear is always, what if my phone dies? Or what if I lose my phone?
That is the ultimate travel nightmare. Losing your phone in 2026 is like losing your brain. It has your maps, your tickets, your bank apps, everything. That's why I've started carrying a power bank everywhere. It's become a permanent part of my travel gear.
Good idea. But I also think it's important to have the cloud. I upload a scan of my passport, my visa, my insurance, and my flight tickets to Google Drive. That way, if I lose everything, I can just walk into a hotel or a library, log into my account, and I have all my documents right there.
That is so smart. I do the same with Dropbox. And here's another tip. I also email those documents to my mom.
To your mom? That's sweet.
Well, it's practical. If I'm in a situation where I can't get to a computer or I've forgotten my password because I'm stressed, I can just call her and say, hey, read me my passport number. It's like a human backup system.
I love that. Hi, Mom. I'm in jail in Peru. Can you send me my visa?
Hopefully it never comes to that, but she's always happy to help. It makes her feel involved in my travels.
That's actually a really good idea. Having a home contact who has all your info is a great safety measure. I usually give my sister my full itinerary and the phone numbers of the places I'm staying. It's just good practice.
It really is. Now, let's talk about money for a second. This isn't exactly a document, but your credit cards are kind of like documents, right? Have you ever had your bank block your card because you were in a different country?
Oh, yes. It happened to me in Morocco. I tried to buy a beautiful rug. It was gorgeous, Mike. You would have loved it. And the card was declined. I tried again. Declined. I had to call my bank, and I was on hold for 45 minutes while the shop owner just sat there drinking mint tea and watching me.
That is so awkward. Did you tell the bank you were going to Morocco before you left?
I thought I did, but apparently I didn't click submit on the app properly. Now I always double check, and I always carry at least 2 different cards from 2 different banks. If one gets blocked or stolen, I'm not completely stuck with cash.
That is the #1 rule of travel finance. Never put all your eggs in one basket or all your cards in one wallet. I actually keep one emergency credit card hidden in my suitcase, tucked inside a sock.
In a sock? That's very creative.
Hey, no one is going to steal a dirty sock, right? It's the safest place in the world.
You say that, but watch. Now some thief is going to listen to this podcast and start stealing everyone's socks at the airport.
Oh no, what have I done? I've started a sock crime wave.
But seriously, it's a good point. Spreading things out is key. I even carry a little bit of emergency cash, usually about $100 in US dollars. Most places in the world will accept dollars if everything else fails.
That's true. Dollars or euros are like a universal language. They can get you out of a lot of trouble. So, Sarah, what's the most unusual document you've ever had to carry?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I think it was a yellow fever vaccination certificate. I was going to Colombia, and at the time, some areas required proof that you'd had the shot. It's this bright yellow little card. It looks like a toy, but without it, you're not getting in.
I've seen those. They're so official looking. I had to get one for a trip to Kenya. The doctor told me the vaccine lasts for life now, which is great because I really don't like needles.
Oh, I hate them too. But I'd rather have a needle than yellow fever, that's for sure. I've also heard that some people have to carry letters of invitation if they are visiting certain countries for business or staying with locals. Have you ever had to do that?
I haven't, but my brother did when he went to Russia years ago. He had to get a specific letter from the hotel where he was staying. It seemed like so much work just to go on a holiday. But I guess every country has its own way of doing things.
It's all about sovereignty, right? They have the right to know who is coming in. We just have to be respectful and follow the rules. But man, sometimes the rules are weird. Like, did you know some countries require you to have a certain amount of empty pages in your passport?
Wait, really? Like, they won't let you in if your passport is too full?
Yes. Some countries, like South Africa, require at least 2 completely blank pages. If you have a passport full of stamps but no empty pages, they can turn you away. It's because their visa sticker is so big it needs its own page.
No way. That is wild. I'm actually looking at my passport right now. I think I only have 3 pages left. I should probably be careful. I never even thought about that. I always thought the more stamps, the better.
I know, it feels like a badge of honor, doesn't it? But yeah, keep an eye on those pages. If you're a frequent traveler, you can actually run out of space before the passport expires.
Wow, this conversation has been a real eye-opener, Sarah. I thought I knew a lot about travel, but I've already learned 3 new things today.
That's why we do this, Mike. We're all learning together. I think the biggest takeaway is just to stay curious and do your homework. Don't just book a flight and hope for the best. Spend an hour on the government website of the country you're visiting. Read the entry requirements section. It's not fun, but it's necessary.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for help. There are so many travel forums and groups online where you can ask, hey, has anyone been to Vietnam lately? How was the visa process? People are usually really happy to share their experiences.
Definitely. And speaking of sharing experiences, I've got one last funny story for you.
Oh, I love stories. Let's hear it.
So my friend was flying to Japan. She's a bit of a minimalist, so she didn't want to carry any paper. She had everything on her phone. She gets to the immigration desk and the officer asks for her arrival card. In Japan, you usually fill out a paper card on the plane, but she had fallen asleep and missed the card distribution.
Oh no.
So she gets to the front of the line and she doesn't have the card. The officer tells her she has to go to the back of the line, which is like 200 people long, and fill it out there. She was so tired and frustrated.
Ouch, that is painful.
But then she realized she didn't have a pen. She had to walk around asking random strangers in a language she didn't speak for a pen. She said it was the most embarrassed she's ever been. Now she always carries 2 pens in her bag.
That is a classic travel lesson. Always, always carry a pen. You never know when you'll need to fill out a customs form or a visa application. I have a pen in every single pocket of my travel bag.
Me too. It's the simplest tool, but it's so important. It's like the low-tech version of a travel document.
Well, Sarah, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from passports and visas to socks and pens. I feel like our listeners should be experts by now.
I hope so. It's really just about building a habit. Once you have your system, whether it's a yellow folder or a fancy app, it becomes second nature. And then you can actually enjoy the trip, which is the whole point.
Exactly. Travel is about the experience, not the paperwork. But the paperwork is the bridge that gets you there.
Well said, Mike. That's very poetic.
I have my moments. So what's your next step for your South America trip? Are you all set now?
Almost. I just need to double check the vaccine requirements for one more country, and then I'm finally going to close all those tabs on my laptop and go to bed.
That sounds like a plan. And for everyone listening, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight on Nighttime Mics. We hope this was helpful and maybe even a little bit entertaining.
Yes, thank you, everyone. If you have any travel document tips or funny stories, please share them with us in the comments. We love reading about your adventures.
And don't forget to check your passport expiration date. Do it right now. We'll wait. Okay, done? Good.
You heard him. Check those dates. Anyway, we'll be back next week with a new topic. Until then, stay safe, stay organized, and keep exploring.
Bye, everyone. Happy travels.
Bye.